Hello everyone, my name is Vishwa Mohan and I welcome you again on this day 4 of 5 days of 5 LLD challenge series. In the previous videos, we have talked about the solid design principle, we talked about the creational design pattern, we talked about the structural design pattern. In this video, we are going to master the behavioral design pattern. So everything that we do in the world of software development, in the world of creation of the project is all inspired from the real world. In the real world, you'll find the real world entities interacting with each other. They have some behavior, they react. The same thing I have to do in the world of programming. I have to have some way to do this very streamlined manner. And that's how the behavioral design patterns comes into the action. They tell us that if we have to make our objects interact, if they have to define the behavior, we have to see that how one object reacts based on the actions of the another object. That's where the behavioral design pattern works. So today in this video, I'm going to take a new project, try to solve that, create that project, and in the process we understand that how we make use of behavioral design patterns. We'll try to see the different patterns here with the help of the code. I'm very excited, so let's get started and learn behavioral design pattern in today's project session. So we have the problem statement in the hand. The problem statement says that we have to go and develop a text editor application in Java. Okay, so what that means, I have to go and create a text editor. Fair enough. When I move further, it says that it allows user to input text. Matlab ki the text editor, I should be able to go and input text, create text out of it. Fair enough. And then after that, I should be able to apply the different formatting styles. So this text that got created, sir, I should be able to format it. The formatting could be done in multiple ways. Let's say that you want to convert that into the uppercase, lowercase, italics, all those things has to be supported, right? So there are multiple algorithms to do this. Also, it says that there should be a system waiting for the text to be updated. So it says that apart from that, there should be systems, say for example console, there could be systems like printer. They should keep on waiting and looking at the text editor. Every time a text editor creates a text, some action should be done on the console or the printer. And finally, it says that also the text formatting operation should be encapsulated and execute them from the editor's text. Now, sir, every time you get a project, you get a problem statement like this, we should not directly jump to the solution. We should not directly start writing the code. First of all, the basic thing is that we need to understand the problem statement itself. So what is the problem statement? The problem statement says that, bhaiya, that you have a text editor. You can create text out of it. And then since it is a text editor, so you should have a way of formatting it. And you should provide the multiple ways of formatting. It means the multiple strategies of formatting, multiple algorithms of formatting. When the same thing, single problem statement, you have the multiple problems ways, multiple ways of solving the same problem, multiple algorithms of solving the same problems. A design pattern we typically use in that kind of situation is called as a strategy design pattern. So here also, since I can have one of the strategy of formatting in the upper case, another strategy could be in the lower case. Another could be all in italics, right? Typically here we can make use of something called as a strategy design pattern. Strategy design pattern. That's one. Other thing that we see is that this system console printer is actually observing text editor. Every time text editor creates a text, this console or printer should take some action. Console should be displaying some information. Printer should print that information. So they are just observing the text editor. So the system which observes, we sometimes go and call it as a consumers or observers. And the system, this text editor is one which is creating the text. I go and call it as a subject, or I go and call it as a producer. So every time a text editor creates a text, my console or printer has to react to it. It has to observe, consume that data. And typically this what happens can be done well with the help of a design pattern called as this communication between these two systems. We've done with the help of something called as an observer design pattern. Again, sir, this observer design pattern is super important. It's one of the most asked question in the interview. And the interesting part is that when you become more advanced, you learn about the more advanced topic, asynchronous communication, messaging queues, No, the system infrastructures like Kafka, the internal principle of working there is nothing but this observer design pattern itself. Right? If that was not enough, I think here also, we have to execute some operation. We have to tell text editor, get dude, you go and write the text. So here we are going to leverage another design pattern which is called as a, what will be that called? That design pattern will call as a command design pattern. So now since we know the problem statement well, we know that multiple design pattern is going to be used. So let's get started hands-on coding where we write code, and with the code we'll try to understand that what these design patterns are, how this project could be coded, and how we practically make use of this design patterns, this behavioral design patterns for solving the real world projects. So I'm on my IntelliJ, as you can see on the screen. It's a very simple setup that I have used. I'm using IntelliJ IDE to write the code. If you want, you can use an editor of your choice, be it VS Code, be it Eclipse, or any other editor. It should equally work well. Now I've just written a simple program called main. Let's try to run this and see if all my setup is work fine. So this is all correct. So what I need to do now is, let's start with something. We have to go and create this app called as text editor. So first of all, let's go start with this class, and let me name this class as text editor app. Fair enough. And this text editor app, let me start the main method. So I go and call it PSVMM. Now let's try to see the sequence what we would like to do. So first of all, I believe I would need to create the text editor itself. And what is the meaning of that? Meaning of that will be, you'll be creating the object of the text editor. Now once you have done this, the next step that you would do is that you would like to go and create the text editor observers. Say for example, console could be one of that. Observers. Once that is done, then what you need to do? You need to go and register all the observers with the text editor guy. Fair enough. So I have a text editor, I have an observer. Observer has been registered with the text editor, so that every time text editor creates some text, the observers get to have that. Fair enough. Now once that is done, this text editor should also have the functionality of formatting, right? So for that we go and create something called, we need to have the formatters. And after formatting is done, then we need to go and provide the commands. We need to do commands to create the text. Fair enough. Right, and then finally we go and execute it. So this should be the sequence of the order in which I go and create things. Right. So now let's get started. Now in order to have a proper fully functional text editor, what is the first prerequisite of that? I need to have the formatters ready, right? So I'll start with the formatters. So first of all, let me go and create a folder, and I go and call it as formatters, right? And inside the formatter, what I go and do that, first of all, I'll go and define a strategy, right? So I go and define a new class. It should be of type interface, and I go and call it as text formatting strategy. Text formatting strategy. Fair enough. And inside I should have a method called as a string format, and I go and pass string text. So I go and define this text formatting strategy. We should always code for interface. We've already seen in our previous session that coding for interface is one of the most basic principles that you should follow when you are designing or writing the code itself. So I have a text formatting strategy, and then inside there, let me go and define another strategy, and let me go and call this as uppercase strategy. Fair enough. And this class should go and implement text formatting strategy, and if it is that, then I have to go and implement this. Inside this text has to be converted to the upper string. So what I can do here, I can just go and say that text dot to uppercase. So I've defined the uppercase strategy class. Similarly, let me go and define another class. Let me go and call it as a lowercase strategy class, and this should again go and implement text formatting strategy. Fair enough. And then inside this I go and write again return, and this should be text dot to uppercase. So I have defined the strategies, lowercase strategy and the uppercase strategy. Fair enough. So my strategy is done, and here this is where I go and make use of the strategy design pattern. So in the strategy design pattern, what I have done, I have defined this interface, same method called as format, and then I have used two strategy, lowercase strategy, uppercase strategy. In the future, if I want some another strategy also to be added, it could be easily done. Fair enough. Now strategy is done, so the next step is that I should go and create my text editor. But the text editor should also act like a subject. It should have the capability that other systems should go and get themselves registered with the text editor. So when I'm defining the text editor class, I should do it in such a way that that those things are streamlined, right? And for doing that, what I do is that let me go inside the SRC and let me go and create a folder called as observers, or actors. Let me go and define a folder called as an actors, right? Typically this will have the master, and inside this let me go and define something called as a text editor subject, right? So I go and define an interface text editor subject. So normally the system, the class, the object which creates something, which produces data typically, which other systems might be observing or waiting for, is called as a subject. So I go and suffix it with subject. It's just again a standard that we normally follow. I think I just did something wrong. Let me go and delete this and define another one. Java class, and it should be interface, and let me go and call this name as text editor subject. Fair enough. And this text editor subject should have a methods. So I need to have a method to register the observers. Then it should have a method to remove the observers. And then it should also have a method to notify the observers. Fair enough. Okay. To register the observers, what we go and do is that we go and define a method called as void, and I go and say that register observer. Right, and then I have to provide some observer here, right? I have to need to go and provide some observer here, right? So here should be some observer that I have to go and provide. Similarly, when I have to go and remove an observer, right, then again I'll have to go and provide something called as void remove observer, right? So here also I'll have to specify some observer, right? Here also I have to provide some observer. So what I need to do is that I need to first of all go and define the observer definition itself. So let's go back, and inside this we'll be going to create a package called as observers, right? And inside the observer, what I go and do is let me go and define an interface. Let me go and call it as a text observer. I go and call it a text editor observer. Fair enough. And this text editor observer should, like, once it observes something that happened in the subject, it should update itself, right? So it should have a method called as void, and I'm going to call it as update string text. Fair enough. Now I'm going to do the concrete implementation of this. So this one of the observer could be the console itself, right? So I go and define another class, and we're going to call it the text console observer. Fair enough. And this implements text editor observer. Fair enough. Now inside this update method, I can just go and say that text updated in console in console, and I go and provide this here as plus text. Fair enough. So this is how it works. So now I have this text editor observer. Text console observer is a concrete implementation, and text editor observer is my interface that I have. So now I can go back to my text editor subject, right? And here I can go and say that if I have to go and register observer, I should go and say the text editor observer, and I go and call it as observer. Fair enough. Similarly, if I have to go and remove, I have to go and say that text editor observer, and I go and say that observer, right? And similarly, when I have to go and notify the observers, I just go and say that void notify observers, and I go and pass the string text. Fair enough, sir. So I have defined this text editor subject interface, and now what I need to do is that I need to go and have a concrete implementation of that. So the text editor will be the concrete implementation. We should go and implement this text editor subject. Let's go and create the text editor now. So now let me go inside this, create a class, call it as the text editor, and this text editor is gonna go implement text editor subject. Fair enough. And then I'm going to go and implement all the methods. So first method that I have is that I have to go and register the observer. Now before doing this, I should have a method. Sorry, I have a list of. I should have a list of who? I should have a list of the text editor observers, and let me go and call it as observers. Observer list equals to new array list. Let me go and initialize this like this. Import class. Fair enough. And then in the text editor, every time there should be a current text, right? So in order to track what the current text is, I can go and say that private string, and that's going to the current text. Since I have made these two fields private, it means that it is encapsulated and no other object should be able to access the list of the observers as well as what is the current text itself, right? So if you want to give that access, we'll have to have a controlled methods which allows the access to these private fields, and that's what the meaning of encapsulation, which our project demanded, right? So now if you're going to talk about the registered observers, the only thing that I have to go and do is that in my observer list, I need to just go and add this observer. Fair enough. If I go about the register remove observer, I can just go and do this. So inside this, I go and say that observer list dot remove, and I go and pass observer. Fair enough. So this works. This has been removed. And when it's about the notifying the observers, what I go and do is that I have to go and iterate through for text editor observers observer, and I go and say that observer list, and here I go and say that observer dot update, right? And here I go and pass the text. Fair enough. So this is how my entire code logic of the text editor works. So my text editor is done, right? So far what I have done, I have written the text editor, I have written the observers, and I have also the strategy that I have to go and apply for formatting the text, right? Since all of this is done, then finally what I'm left with is that typically I have to go and define the text editor command. The text editor should have a command to go and edit the text or write the text. So for that, what I go and do that, I go and inside this, let me go and create a package called as commands, and let me go and create an interface, call it as text editor command. Okay, we go and define a text editor command, and inside that I go and define a method called as void execute. So basically this is the interface command, and it should have a method called execute which will go and execute the things. Fair. So for that, let me go and define the concrete command. Let me go and define that concrete command as format text command, and this format text command should make implement text editor command, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement all the methods. So inside the execute, now for the format text command, it should have the control of following things. It should have control of the text formatting strategy. So it should have the text formatting strategy, to text formatting strategy, right? This should be again private, and then I should have something called as a private text editor, and private string, and it was a text to format. Fair enough. Now these are the private fields, so I need to have a constructor to go and initialize each of them. So I'm going to define the constructor with each of these fields. So this is how my constructor looks like, right? I have went ahead and created a. Now inside this execute method, what I need to do is that I can just go and provide string, and I go and say that string formatted text equals to strategy. So here I have this text formatting strategy. Let me copy this. And it has a method called as a format, and in this case I go and pass the text to format. Fair enough. And then what I do is the text editor dot set. Now if I go and look around this text editor, right, text editor has this current text, right? I have not written a method to set this, right? So I can go and define a setter here, setter, and then for this. So if I go back here, once this is done, I can do text editor dot set current text, and I can go and pass the text formatted text. So this execute method, what it will do, it will go first of all format the text, and then it will set as the current text of the editor itself. So now my the command method is also done. Now since all of this thing is done, it is time to stick all these pieces together and create my final application, which is the text editor app. So first of all, I need to go and create the text editor. So for that, what I go and do this, I go and say the text editor equals to text editor equals to new text editor. Fair enough. Cool. Now I have to go and define the observer. So I go and define that text editor observer equals to new text console observer. Fair enough. So this I have done. Now once that is done, now in this text editor and in this observer, right, I have to go and set the I have to first of all register itself. So what I can do is that text editor dot register observer, and you can pass the observer here into this. Fair enough. Cool. Now once that is done, this text editor should also text editor dot set text editor dot set current text, right? I can go and set the current text as hello students. Fair enough. So I go and set this as a hello students, and then what I go and do this, I go and do the formatter. So I have this text formatting strategy, and I go and say that uppercase strategy equals to new uppercase strategy. Once I have done this, let me go and define something called as let me go and call it format text command. It's got to format. So if I go in here, like I have this format text command and I have a text editor command, right? So what I can do is you can come here and say that text editor command equals to new format format text command. Now this format text command, if I go and look around this takes an arguments. What all arguments? Text formatting strategy, that's one, and then the text editor, and then text to format. So here when I come here, where I'm the format text command, yes. So here I go and pass uppercase strategy, and then I go and again pass typically, if I put here, I'll go and pass the editor, right? So I have the text editor which is here, so I go and pass in this, and I need to also go and pass the text, right? So I need to go and pass this text, right? This is what I have to do. If I go here, format text command, I have to go and provide the text to format, right? This is what I have to go and provide. So inside this, let me go and copy this hello students, and I go and provide this. Once that is done, what I need to do is that this method command, this has to be executed. This command has to be executed. So when I go and do this command dot execute, right, this should go and set the value. So if I go and run this now, I'm not printing anything as of now, so it's not getting me a result. But if I go in here and do something like this, here I can go and say that, SOUT, and I go and say that formatting the text to formatting the text, right? And then inside the strategy, if I go back and put here, SOUT, and I go and say that converting to the upper case, right? So finally, after doing this, right, if I go and run this app again, right, text editor app, if I go and run this again, this should get me all those results, right? Formatting the text, converting to the uppercase. And now if I go and do this, right, let's say the text editor, I have this one. If I go inside the text editor, right, and I have this, let me know. So let me go and do this, inside the observer. Where is my observer? Where is my observer? This is the text console observer, right? I have already written, right? So what I can do now is I can go to my text editor app, and I can go and say that text editor dot notify, right? So this text editor has a method called as notify observers, right? This is the method that I have, right, in which I have to go and provide the text, right? So instead of providing the text itself, notify observers, what I can go and do is that I can just go and provide this text itself, right, the current text. So I can just remove this, and I can just run this dot current text, right? So if I go and run this now here, and I go and say notify observers, right, and let's try to run this and see what happens. Now when I go and do this text editor, this is happening because the text editor subject has this, so I just go and remove this. Now it should not, this should work fine. So if I go again to my text editor app and let's try to run this, it is saying that formatting to the text, converting to the uppercase, text updated in the console, which is the observer, and my hello student is working all fine. So with this, we have come to the end of this video. I am hopeful that you would have been able to understand in a single stretch itself. If not, there are few points which you need to revisit again. Please do make sure that you are doing that. And if it is helping you, please make sure that you're not just watching, but you are trying to create the same project, put over to the GitHub, and tag me over the LinkedIn saying that you have completed this, the behavioral design pattern and created a project out of it. I hope this is working out, and soon I'm very excited to bring the last and the conclusion, where I'll be taking a real world project, the interview question, the question directly from the interview text, how it will be asked in the low level design interviews. So stay tuned for the next video where I'll be talking about the interview question direct from the interview desk, that how low level design questions are asked in the interview.